Sister Shanice here with another news report. Thank you so much for tuning into this channel. Today's news is going to be bringing you some insights into the situation in Senegal. Senegal is one of the westernmost parts of the African continent and has a population of about 15 million people. The Senegalese subsoil contains a wide variety of mineral resources: iron, gold, copper, peat, chromium, aluminium, phosphates, ceramic and industrial clays. They've got granite rock, they've got marble, ornamental stones. It is rich beyond measure. And in addition to that, in one area called Kédougou in Senegal, it's home to 98% of Senegal's gold mines, and there are more than 5 tons of mercury that's used annually in the region. Yet, with all of this wealth, nearly half of the Senegal population, about 46.7% to be exact, is living in poverty. Macky Sall has been president of Senegal since April 2012. He served 2 consecutive 5-year terms, the limit according to the Senegal constitutional reform in 2001. It has been widely reported that the president is intending to increase his term of office despite the constitution, and it appears to the outside world that in a political ploy to secure his re-election, he's arrested and sentenced the popular opposition leader Ousmane Sonko to 2 years in prison, a move that has led to widespread protests and have escalated civil unrest in the country. In recent days, there's been news reports claiming that at least 9 people have died in the clashes. His supporters, and these are the supporters of Ousmane Hussein, that his arrest, trial, and sentencing is a political move to discredit him and to prevent him from running in opposition. In a country so minerally rich, in rural areas where 66% actually, of the residents are considered poor, is this not yet another example of Africa not being poor, but poorly managed? Let's bring our correspondent, Benjamin Anyagre, who is the immediate past executive director of the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute in Africa, to speak on this matter. Welcome, Brother Benjamin. How are you?
Thank you very much, sister. Oh, I'm doing well, and thank you very much, Sister Shanice, for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you.
We thank you. Benjamin, I wonder if you could share with us what you consider to be the underlying factors that are impacting on young people in Senegal today that may have given rise to this explosive situation that we're all witnessing unfolding right now in the country.
Yes, what we are seeing in Senegal is a demonstration of some kind of threat against the youth, some kind of threat on the future of the youth with regard to some kind of mass poverty, slapping them or facing them or trying to get them out of the system. And we can also look at mass youth unemployment. Aside from that, there are no opportunities, lack of opportunities. And once they begin to find themselves in such a situation and they know that there's no assured hope, and for that matter, sitting in a country where they have so many mineral resources which are not being used to help better their standard of living, then they begin to look for alternative means to demonstrate their displeasure. And that is what is happening.
Yes, Benjamin, thank you for that. I'm sure all of us have seen the really harrowing images of young people even resorting to going to what they call the back way to get out of countries like Senegal because of the impoverishment that they are suffering there. So, you know, that leads me to ask, what is the situation regarding the management of the country and its wealth? Why is it that not more is going towards providing services for the young people, creating employment opportunities, jobs, wealth, etc. What is the situation regarding the management of the country?
Well, the management of the country, I will put it in this way, that it is being done through a kind of democratic system that is an advanced stage of an indirect rule exercised during the colonial period. You find out that all the resources of the country are supposed to be plowed in service of the people.
Mm.
They are not supposed to be siphoned outside the country. And that happens when you have a type of government in power, not serving the interests of the people, not thinking about the interests of the people, not being conscious about the sovereign state, and for that matter, think about servicing people overseas. You find out that Senegal has so many rich mineral resources, but can we boast that it does translate into the reduction of poverty? We can't. We can't. And so the issue is that, what is the cause of it? It's all about the management. It's all about leadership. The leadership do not have the people at heart. They think about themselves. And for that matter, are in alliance with imperial kingdoms to exploit the resources of the country at the detriment of the people. And that is what is happening. Extension of colonialism. Extension of colonialism, which we all know to be neocolonialism. And that is what is happening.
Yeah, a very sorrowful and pitiful state of affairs indeed. Not that this is unique to Senegal. Benjamin, there seems to be a disconnect between the president, the office of the president, and the young people of Senegal. And if so, what is this disconnect? You know, what are the lines of communication between the young people and the government office? Do they interact with the youth? Do they engage the youth in programs and initiatives? You know, what is the pathway between young people and government? There needs obviously to be, you know, some kind of mechanism for interaction. Otherwise, you know, this is what we see being played out on the streets, is the alternative way that young people communicate their dissatisfaction. And going forward, you know, this is not an appropriate way for young people to have to, you know, vent their frustration. What are the present means of communication at the moment? Are there any? And if not, what ought to be put in place? Benjamin.
Yes, currently it is clear that there's some kind of disconnect between those in power and the youth. And if they had a very good youth program, national youth program in the country, they would have had access in engaging the youth. And also at the tertiary level, we know there are youth organizations and bodies that are being led by the same youth. And so if all these structures are there, and then it could have been, I mean, something useful for the government to use such channels for them to engage and talk about certain issues with respect to the future of the youth. But what has happened clearly shows that there's nothing like that going on. There's a disconnect. Because if they have issues, they will of course want to meet government officials, meet those who matter, especially the ministry in charge of the youth. But here's the case: we are seeing what is happening. So what went wrong? It shows that there's no communication. The line of communication between the youth and the government is bad or is poor. And so, cause engaging on a win-win situation, looking at the issues, you know, and debating with regard to the future of the country, which of course now rests on the head of the youth. And so if that do not happen, what happens? There will be some kind of resistance. And so I'm sure in the absence of all these things has made them to now resort to an alternative path by pouring into the streets and doing what is ongoing.
Mm.
And this is not only the dissatisfaction of the youth of Senegal, is an indication of what is happening across the whole continent with regard to the youth of this continent. Mm. We all know because of lack of certain opportunities, they are compelled to walk through the Sahara Desert. You go there, you find a lot of skeletons. They go through the Mediterranean Sea because they want to jump into Europe because they're looking for the greener pastures. Yet the greener pasture they're looking for is here in Africa. And so how come? It means mismanagement, greed, graft, corruption. That is what has swallowed many of our governance systems in Africa. And so until we begin to question, it isn't like we don't have the brains, but it is because we have poor leaders, greedy leaders, who are thinking about themselves. They are comfortable. They don't feel the pain. They don't walk in the streets. How many of them go to the rural areas to see what is happening, the state of the people, living in abject poverty, hunger, and diseases? Yet we are in the midst of plenty, gold, copper. Look at what is happening all over Africa. It is sad. And comparing what is happening, let's see what is happening in Europe. The youth of today in Senegal, their counterparts in Europe, are enjoying and comfortable with social security systems, protected more than what we are seeing in Africa. Go to the Nordics, where the people have trust with their government. In Africa, there's no trust. We don't have trust with our governments because they don't do what we want them to do. And because of that, what do we expect? The youth, their future is being threatened. The youth, their future is being threatened. And they want to prevent that. They want to save their future. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, sometimes they will go through certain mediums to protest or do certain things to convey the message to the powers that be. And whatever happens is enough data for leadership to rethink. Mm-hmm. That lack of national consciousness should be revived in them.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Absolutely. Final question, really, and that's about the military. We've seen that, the military has been called in. Most of us outside the continent of Africa get really worried when we see the African military being brought on the streets because, sometimes they seem to be anti their own citizens and, the tyrants of the government. I mean, what's the military situation in Senegal? Is there a relationship between young people and the military? The last thing we would want is for the military to turn on their own citizens and start slaughtering their own people. I'm hoping that era of military abuse in Africa is behind us and that we've got, a different kind of civil engagement and relationship between the military and young people, the military and its citizens. What's the climate like in Senegal right now with the between the young people and the military?
Yes, currently, like we are aware, 350 people have been injured, 16 people have been killed, 500 people have been arrested. And so an opposition leader has been put behind the bars. And so are we saying that the military or the government are in to serve the interest of the people who voted for them? And once they are voted into power, they have so much power that they control the military. And I strongly believe sometimes by virtue of the fiat of state attorney, they go out to do what they are doing. But many of them, I think, in their conscience, are not happy with what is happening. Because the issues are this: find solution to the problems, find solution to the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about using bullets. Bullets can't solve the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Bullets can lead to the youth running to take cover. But will that solve the problem? They may come back on the street again. They may come back, because the point is that they want a resolution of a matter done, effected.
Yeah, and that's what they deserve. That's what they absolutely deserve.
Yes.
My brother Benjamin, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the Sister Shanice show to give us an insight into the situation in Senegal. Keep up the great works, and we hope to speak to you again in the near future. Thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you very much, and greetings to your audience. Grateful.
Thank you. Sister Shanice out of here for now. One.